My name's Darryl Trevor Fabar. I was born in Lithgow in 22/10/1951. I'm of Aboriginal descent. I've got my grandchildren and my wife with me. We've been here for about 36, 37 years now. We look after it. When we first moved in here, it was quite small, no big crowded in. Then we had drugs come into it, and we were raising our kids then, and we just kept our kids out of it. We made sure that the kids never went without. We took them to their sporting games, their dancing, their anything they wanted. We kept them active and kept them going, which was what you have to do with kids. My wife stayed at home. I went to work. I worked the hours, got the money. You know, we haven't got much. We've got a neat, clean, tidy little house that I'm proud that people can walk into.
I'm Judith Ann Fabar, Aboriginal descent. My mother had 6 kids. My father died when I was young. I think I was about 6 or 7. My mother brought us up. We lived at Glebe, then we moved to Willurai, and then that's where I met Darryl. He was my brother's friend. But we got on.
The first time I met her, we sat at the back of the dance hall and told dirty jokes, as young blokes do to impress the girls. Drinking, going to the pub, drinking, going to the pub. That was my idea of marriage. That's what I'd been brought up with. That was my idea of marriage. No, we don't go to the pub. Because I'd had 20 years of it, bit over 20 years, I still got pushed that way. She's now got me out of it. She raised my kids. She raised them well, so that I can be proud of them.
They all identify with it. I've only got one daughter that doesn't have her Aboriginality papers, but she says she doesn't know it. She knows what she is and she's fine. And they've all got good jobs and they work hard.
She backed me and she stood behind me. Whenever I needed her, she was there. Still here. Dad always said I was Aboriginal, and Dad was dark-skinned. I used to look at my skin and I'd say, yeah, sure we are, Dad, you know. But he always used to say, you're Aboriginal. And as we did not spend a great deal of time with his side of the family, because my mother was very controlling, and I used to go up to my grandmother's after we moved to Sydney, we go to my grandmother's up at Lithgow, and I used to love it. But Gran used to say to me, you behave yourself, the white man will come and take you away. Pop and Gran, like some of the photos, I said, they were so much in love and they were so much caring and that. It was great to see that there was no, you know, you hear about all this domestic violence and all that. There was none of that.
Okay, you sit on the floor.
I can get to sit up there, but...
Okay. Come over here, Kathy, like...
Oh, my toe!
Not the grandchildren, it was my children. Because if I could make my children to be good, hardworking, caring, loving people, I don't have to worry about my grandchildren. They're going to get the same. And I have found that. I really have. I know I'm going to tear up here. I really know I have, because my children treat their children the way I wanted to be treated. It's another one of my sayings. You've got to be better than your father. Make them better so that they can have a better life, so that they can move forward, your grandchildren can move, your great-grandchildren, and if they all try and be better, we must eventually succeed.
I think Aboriginal people are as good as others, and they can succeed.
I'd like to invite my eldest granddaughter in, Nakia. You can stand behind me. LaKayla, are you ready to come in?
I'm not.
I don't know, she's coming there somewhere. Both my parents come from country areas. My dad's a Willurai man, he's comes from Gunnedah. My mum's a Wiradjuri woman, she's from Leeton. The city is so different to country because you're more freer and more safer than when you move to the city. My dad always told me he was always out helping his grandparents with things and just sitting around yarning a lot about things, handing down knowledge and information and that all the time. What I know is what he's given me, like he talked about aunties, uncles, what they done and what happened to them. I do remember he told me that segregation, they weren't allowed to mix with white people. You know, he said we go to the cinema, movie theatre, he called it, and we said we weren't allowed to, we had to sit at the back, we weren't allowed to sit at the front of the bus, we had to sit at the back. Well, that's how it was in those days, you know, they'd be away working, then when I used to apply for different positions, they'd say, yeah, fill out the application, we'll let you know. You never hear from them, because once you say you're Aboriginal, you didn't get the job. Sometimes it was that bad that I used to say, I'm not Aboriginal, I'm something else, just to get away from it. When my mum introduced my dad to her mother, she wasn't very happy. Even though her husband was Aboriginal, her mum's dad was Aboriginal, she was non-Aboriginal and she was a bit prejudiced herself. She said, I don't want you to marry an Aboriginal man. And I talk about that with my grandchildren. I tell them, you need to know, because you've got to talk about these things with your own children. I used to hang out with my cousins. I used to live here in this area. We go to the Aboriginal dances and we had our Aboriginal bands there. We'd have Aboriginal artists. Yeah, I was only 16 at that time. He was 18. He came from Griffith. That's where my kids are living now. So he came down with all his cousins and then he met all my cousins and then that was it. Things got serious and then we got engaged and then babies come along. You know, I got along. There was a few families end up moving out and then I started getting part-time work, coordinating after-school care and vacation care for Aboriginal children in the Bonnyrigg area. Today I still see those children growing up, they've got their children themselves and they still call me auntie. Like, that's so great to see them kids as adults now. Just if we could help the children have a better life, it was worth it. And to be with positive role models, you know, to help them on their journeys. They were saying that they're finding it very, very hard to engage with Aboriginal families. And I said, the main reason is because they have got grandmothers, aunties, uncles, cousins, extended family members helping them with this child when this child comes home from hospital. Everyone's there helping. And I said they don't need to turn anywhere else to get that support. And they were shocked. There was a few people that really got upset and frustrated by families that weren't accessing or not going to their appointments and really, really saying some nasty things. And I said, listen, I said, you put yourself in their place for one day and see how you feel. I said, they're carrying a lot. Their parents are still carrying it, their grandparents. I said, how are you expecting them to actually get over all? I'm the oldest of 11 children. Rhonda's the last, she's a baby. I loved it. I always think about my childhood and with my brothers and sisters growing up, because we grew up as very loving, caring family, looking after one another. The family unit is the most important thing.